We had to go through our own learning and we had to learn from the mistakes. And that's how we got where we are. When we try to shortchange our teams of that learning, we keep them from growing. And that's where we really stagnate the whole team and keep the business depending on us.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist, the author of the 4-Week Vacation and the How to Hire the Best series, as well as the founder of Tap the Potential, where we coach entrepreneurs like you to design sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Because after all, we believe work supports life, not the other way around. Weekly on the Profit by Design podcast, we bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. Profit Designers, here on the podcast, I am bringing you past episodes where I have interviewed entrepreneurs who have taken 4-week vacations. It's my intention that this inspires you, no matter where you are in your business, that it is possible for you to have a business that can run without you, and you absolutely can take a 4-week vacation. Rodrigo Laddaga Lopez is the next interview that I'm bringing you. And Rodrigo's story is so powerful. There's so many life lessons in what he's sharing with us. Overall, what I take away from it is that the power of just declaring something is important to you and you're going to make it happen. That's what you hear as he describes what happened to him on his 4-week vacation. But it's also the theme that runs throughout, because he also talks about that when he just made the 4-week vacation pledge and said, I'm doing this. So if you haven't made the 4-week vacation pledge yet, I encourage you to do it. Head on over to tapthepotential.com/pledge. And in the meantime, enjoy Rodrigo's sharing. Today on the podcast, we're joined by my good friend, Rodrigo Laddaga Lopez. Rodrigo is the CEO of Helpi Coaching in Mexico, and he's also the author of the book, Dear Entrepreneur, a spiritual and technical guide on how to be a fulfilled and successful entrepreneur, small business owner. Rodrigo is featured in the 4-week vacation. He's been a part of the journey. He was there when I declared my intention to write the 4-week vacation book. And as he set off to take his own 4-week vacation, he had a very profound experience that created a lot of opportunities for learning that he's sharing with us today. He shared this in the book, and he's sharing it here live with us on the podcast. So let's join my conversation with Rodrigo. Welcome to the Profit by Design podcast, Rodrigo.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, to having me with you. As always, it's an honor. Great to see you and chat with you. It's always a great thing to happen to me.
Yes. So I just want to share with everyone who's either listening to this or watching this, Rodrigo is such a good friend of mine. You and I first met when we attended the Pumpkin Plan Immersion event, among the very first strategists. And I just really connected with you and your heart for entrepreneurship and wanting to support entrepreneurs. I mean, that just really stood out to me that's been your life's journey. You are CEO and general manager of Helpi Coaching in Mexico. You're the author of Dear Entrepreneur, and Dear Entrepreneur is all about the importance of the spiritual side of life and incorporating that into our entrepreneurial journey. And there's so many rich lessons that you've shared in that book and just with me over knowing you all these years. And the other thing that I want to share about Rodrigo is Rodrigo has attended every Breakthroughs retreat that we've had. He was right there when I did the first retreat cheering me on. And I was even questioning, could we do a retreat and what would it be like? And Rodrigo and Mike and Donna showed up and really supported. So I really appreciate you, Rodrigo, in that way.
always an honor to be there with you and share with you. It's really an honor to be, and I'm thankful that you invited me to join to that.
Yeah. So I believe you have so much wisdom to share with us entrepreneurs. And one of the things that you did way back when at one of the Breakthroughs retreat is you took the 4-week vacation challenge.
Yes, I did.
And you made the commitment that you were going to put your business on the journey to taking a 4-week vacation. And Rodrigo's story about his 4-week vacation journey is featured in the 4-week vacation, which is going to release October 26th.
Great.
You'll be able to get your copy on Amazon. So let's start with when you decided to take the 4-week vacation challenge. What made that important to you?
Well, as always happened on the retreats that, you get so much of them, so much. And you ask us to all the people that we were there if we want to make the pledge, to the commitment. And you give us this little card that we have to sign and put the date when we want to have this 4-week vacation. What was the reason behind that? So, you just pass this over to everyone, and some of them fill it out, some of them not. So I start to feel it. And since many years ago, I write down a list of bucket list, like a bucket list of things that I want to do in my life. And one of them was to have these vacations in several countries in Europe with my family on the summer. And I had specific dates and specific countries, The first one was Italy, because we just love Italy. We are Italy fanatics. So a lot of countries, that one, the first country that we wanted to go. And I put it in the bucket list. But as I always, I was keeping, maybe next year, maybe, I don't know. So when you give me this pledge that we have to fill out, I said, this is a sign that I have to do it. So I put it the date. It was going to be in 1 year. And I put the reasons. And obviously, one of the reasons is that that's what we teach, as you teach to our customers on Helpi, to have a business that don't depend on them all the time, so they can do this kind of thing. So I have done that several years, but not in that specific format, 4 weeks, not any contact, So anyway, so I fill it out and I send a text to my wife, Tanya, telling her, we have been thinking on this for several years, blah, blah, blah. So this happened in the retreat with Sabrina. So what do you think if we go next year now for 4 weeks to Italy? And she said, I'm on. I'm on, of course.
She had no objection, right?
Yeah. My mail was on. I said, perfect. So then we take the money from our savings to put in specifically for that amount. We make the budget, say this is the amount of money that we want to spend, for how long is going to, how many weeks we can do this trip. We start planning with 1 year ahead, everything, plane tickets, everything. And it was going to be 5 weeks vacation because the budget has given us that opportunity. So that's what motivates me to do that first 4-week vacation trip.
So I just want to comment on a couple of things. First off, your wife had no objection. So that just heightens the accountability, because you told your wife that you wanted to do that. And then you started getting into immediate action with, putting the dates on the calendar. You started saving the money, putting it aside for the trip.
Yes.
So what had to happen in your business in the course of that year?
So as you teach us, I send an email, because that's what was part of the tips that you give us to us. I have to send an email to my team to say, in 1 year, I'm going to be away for 4 weeks and we have to plan all this, so et cetera, et cetera. So I did that and I started to planning and to make some tests, because there were some things that, for instance, that I used to do, like all the payments of the company, I approve it. I just approve it every week and say, okay, from the internet bank, So my team put it there, all the things that I have to pay, but I just approve it, right? So the first thing was, who's going to do that? Because I'm not going to be there. So I started thinking on who can do this. And then I have my master coach, Mari Carmen. She's the one indicated to do that. So we train her. And we have to take a token from the bank from her. So we did all that stuff and start to training, Okay, now this week you're going to make the payments. I'm going to be just with you, but you're going to make it. And, these are the payments that we do every month usually, blah, blah, blah. So I trained her. In terms of the operation of the business per se, our team of coaches, our great team of coaches, coaching our customers and all that, I have been systematized that several years ago, so I don't have any problem on that. But these little things of, the payments, the bank, that was the thing that I have to work on to be able to try to have those 4 weeks without any contact.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to acknowledge about you, Rodrigo, is you are a very systematic thinker. So that's your strength, and that comes easy to you. And so what we are seeing, I've been doing a lot of research on the state of entrepreneurship, and I share some of what our findings are in the 4-week vacation book, but we'll be putting out a annual report on the state of entrepreneurship very soon. And what's interesting to me is there is clearly a correlation between the number of systems in place that you have in your business and your ability to be away from the business. So you were already, and this is what's so interesting, you didn't have to do a lot of work. You didn't have to go out and hire a team and create all these systems in order to be able to do this in a year. It was really literally at your fingertips, and it had just never occurred to you to take that final step, make sure someone else could pay the bills and sign off on payroll. And interestingly enough, I had a conversation just yesterday with another entrepreneur who said, this happened when I was on vacation. Paychecks didn't go out. And so I think this is something for all of us to be aware of, that things can happen to us. Like we could get COVID. You were sharing with me that you had COVID and you're healthy. Goodness. But we could get something and be out from the business for an extended period, and then somebody has to take care of signing checks and authorizing payments. So that's a big one. And how was that for you to trust someone else in your business to do that?
I guess that it's a process that you have to go through, because for me, from experience, that's the last step on really a step down from your business, to give the money, the finance, accountability to something else, to somebody else. That's, for me, the last step. And it's not easy, because you say, we're talking about the finance of the money, and you have to be very careful with that. But in my case, it was kind of easy because the trust was already there with the people that I choose. So I have my finance person, which is Diana, which is amazing. I trust completely in her. But obviously, I have some things set in the business. She's able to put all the payments on the bank, but not to do it. I do it. I authorize it, as I just mentioned it. So in this case, Maricami, I trust completely in her. So it was like this double, double check that one has to put in and the other has to authorize it. So, but yes, it's a process that you have to go through, because it's not easy to let it go to say, okay, now, they're going to do it, even if it's just for 1 month or whatever. But the trust has to be there. Obviously, the trust has to be there. And then the other thing is you have to set up the process and the way to do it. And basically, it's easier than we think, as most of the time happens. It's easier than when you start thinking about, say, how can I want to do this? And then you say, well, I just have to ask her, train it very easily in a couple of calls, and that will be it. And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. We do tend to overcomplicate things in our heads, for sure. Yeah. And the trust issue is a big factor. I hear that one coming up over and over. And the best way to have team members that you trust is to use your core values, your immutable laws, as the number one filter in your hiring process. And when you hire people who have similar core values to you, it's easier to trust them to make decisions. And when we're gone, there's always going to be things that come up that there's no policy around.
Yes.
If you have that trust, you can feel confident that they're going to handle it in a way that you'll feel good about it. And they may not handle it in the way you would. They probably will find a different way that'll be better.
Yeah, I think that's the key, because when you start allowing your team to take some more strategic decisions, sometimes you just have to step down. Even if you may not be totally agree the way they are doing it, you have to hold yourself. And then after the process, maybe then you give the feedback. But if you step down immediately, they will never learn to do that. And we forgot that we went to the same process. We make a lot of decisions and we make a lot of mistakes, and then we get better and better on our criteria of how to handle things. But they are in the same process now. Maybe we have years doing that, and they may start doing that at a certain point of time. But that's probably the most difficult part, that I have to step down. And even if you see that it's not going to end maybe well, you have to say, okay, they have to do it. And then at the end, you say, okay, this is my feedback. But I think that's the tricky part, that you have to let them take the decisions, right?
Yeah. And I love the point that you're making, that we had to go through our own learning and we had to learn from the mistakes. And that's how we got where we are. When we try to shortchange our teams of that learning, we keep them from growing. And that's where we really stagnate the whole team and keep the business depending on us. One of the things that I did in the 4-week vacation is I laid out a decision-making filter that you can use with your team, because I recognize that when we business owners have learned to think about profit first and the sweet spot of our business, and we have a clear vision, we start making decisions in alignment with those things and our immutable laws as well. And so I created a filter for business owners to use to train their teams to think in that way. And I'll totally confess, it makes me more effective as a business owner to use that filter, because on a daily basis, we make all kinds of decisions all day long, and we don't always think through the consequences and, all the different angles. And so when we use a decision-making filter, and then when we involve multiple people on our team in making a decision.
I can't wait to read the book to see that. I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, I just find myself making much better decisions because it slows me down. And I think so many of us entrepreneurs, we're just like, let's keep moving. Let's make a decision and keep moving forward. And then we pay the dumb tax on those decisions later down the road. So Rodrigo, I know we make it sound like it was just kind of a piece of cake for you to take your 4-week vacation. But actually what happened is the day you got to the airport to take your vacation, things did not go smoothly from there. So you have so many rich life lessons that you shared.
Yeah. Basically, now looking backwards, connecting the dot backwards, one of my most important defects is pride. I am very proud. It's something that I have to work every day on my life with that thing. So a couple of months before the trip, my pride has started going up, and, I start doing things. And anyways, and always when that happens, which happens in everybody's life, when you start to go into some path that is not good for your own development, life teach you always. There is no punishments in life, just learnings, right? That's what I believe. So the day that I have to go, we take a plane from Monterrey, where we live, to Mexico City, because the plane to Italy was from Mexico City to Rome. It was we planned it for 1 year. We have everything. We was supposed to spend 1 week in Rome with some of our friends that live there, and with other friends that it happens to be one of our best friends, a family who was going to be there also. So everything's going to be, and then we're going to spend 2 weeks in a Tuscany, small city, which is Lucca. It's beautiful. And then other week on touring. Everything was planned. Rent the car, everything. So we went to Mexico City, and like 1 month ago, my wife telling me, your passport is going to expire in September. You should take a new passport. And I said, no, why? Because we're going in July, and we're going back in June, and we're going back in July. So there's no problem. So she didn't say nothing. So we went to Mexico City airport, and we gone to the gate. And then right before the getting board, they asked for us passport or ticket planes. And the people there say me, you cannot go in the plane. And I say, why? Because your passport expires in September, and the Italy's authorities tell you that you have to have at least more than 3 months of expiration of your passport. And I say, nobody told me that, not even in the airline. Nobody told me that. Sorry, you cannot go. So for me, it was a shock. So we were there, and I said to my wife, you go with your kids, and I will see how to solve it. My kids start to cry there on the gate. Oh, daddy. I said, go, and I will see. So it was 11:30 in the night. So I take a cab. I went to a hotel in Mexico City and start looking on the internet how to get a passport emergency, And I start to see in all the websites and all the blogs, it's not possible. You have the only thing to do it is through this phone number of this part of the government, and they give you a date, which is between 3 and 4 or 6 weeks. So I was very worried. So I started to sending texts to my friends and family. Do you know somebody? And then everybody started to tell me, some years before you can go directly to some places, but now this is the way that you have to do it. So in the morning, I cried like I was devastated. I say, oh my God, I say, I will lose this experience. But anyways, I say, I want to do the best I can do. So I start going to places in Mexico City to see, and they told me, they said, you have to call to this number. I was calling to that number and nobody answered. So anyway, I start looking around and I called to my parents, which live in another part of Mexico, say, do you know somebody there? Maybe I can fly there. I don't know. Okay, let me see. I went to a special part of the government in Mexico City that is supposed to give you a passport for emergencies. And I went and they said, yes, it's an emergency, but just in these cases, a health emergency, something from a business or something from a student that has something with the studies. Do you have any of those? And I said, no. And you have to bring a letter. And so I don't have one. Okay. So finally, I went to a place. I went to these different locations in Mexico City. I went to a place. And I came and it was this young lady. And I said, I'm looking for a passport, blah, blah, blah. And she said, no, you have to call to them. I said, yeah, everybody told me that. And I said, but I'm calling from my cell phone and nobody answered. And she told me, sometimes happen depending on your company or yourself, but try from my cell phone. And I say, okay. So I call. And then the answer in the call said, yes, I want an appointment for my passport. Yes, okay. Where do you want it? Because you have to tell me in what part of the country you want to go to the office. And I said, well, wherever you can give me the most recent, the most recent date, wherever, I will fly, no matter where I will fly. And the people tell me, okay, but we have to start finding, state by state. And I say, okay, so I'm Mexico City, so maybe we can start looking near Mexico City. And the guy told me, I have an appointment for tomorrow in this part of Mexico City. Do you want it? Yes, I want it. Okay. So I'm going to send you an email because there are the instructions with your appointment. Okay, can you check in your phone? Yes, here are. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you have the appointment for tomorrow. Then I hang up and the young lady told me, this is the first time that I see that in my life. She told me, all the time people come to me for this. Last week was an old lady that was here in Mexico City. Her sister died in the States. His passport expired, and she called to tell the people, my sister died, and they give them 3 weeks appointment to get their passport. And I said, wow. And this young lady told me, where is your appointment? In this place. Okay, watch for this because people get confused and go to this office instead to this office. So make sure that you go to this office because your appointment. I say, okay, thank you very much. I say, and then you have to take your picture and make a payment in the bank. Yeah, okay, there is the bank here, and you can take the picture here, and everything was there. So I went and did all the things that I have to do. The other day, I went to the appointment. I was so nervous all these days, very nervous. I could not write down to fill up the form. I was very nervous. So I had to ask to somebody in the bank where I went to help me do that. And then I went to the office to get the passport. And they took me the picture, whatever. And then I sit down to wait to call me. And a lady beside me started telling me, this is amazing. I have to wait 4 weeks for my passport to the appointment. And they told me they're going to give it to me in 3 weeks. And I say, whoa, they told me just here that they are going to give us right away. And then a person in the government office came out and say, we have a shutdown in the system. So we don't know when this is going to get back. So we'll keep you notice. And I say, oh my God, no, please. But 20 minutes later, the same people come out and say, it's already fixed. And they call me and they give me in 15 minutes the passport. So I took a flight 4 weeks after that. So, and then joined to my family and I make the trip and I have this amazing trip. So that's the story of what happened.
That's an incredible story. You had so much persistence, like you were determined. You were going to do everything you could to make it happen. You wanted, and you said you were devastated that you would miss this experience with your family.
But I guess it's a mixture of persistence and disattachment. I think that is the key because, when you act from the ego, always going to turn bad. Always, sooner or later, when, you get attached to it. So I was devastated, but when I was in the morning crying, I said, God, I will do, please help me. But if this is not going to happen to me, I accept it. I will do whatever I have to do. But if this is the lesson that I have to learn, go for it. I have to. So it's a mix of persistence and disattachment. And I think that this is one of the keys that entrepreneurs and everybody in general have to learn, persistent, but with disattachment, because when you attach and came from the ego, you're going to have a bad consequences sooner or later.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And so what I really hear in that is you are just accepting it's going to be as it's going to be. And I'm going to do my very best to say,
Yeah, I'm going to do my very best.
right, I'm hoping it's going to go. But if it doesn't go that way, I'm going to accept it. And the other lesson that you shared that is in the book is the importance of allowing others to give and the importance of asking for help, which we entrepreneurs are not very good at that.
Yeah. It's basically, that's the only way I could do this, because I asked for help from many people. That's the first thing that I did, start sending messages. And then I start to have a lot of feedback. I did this, and I was trying different things that friends and family told me. And the last one, which this angel that I call, because, for me it was an angel, because it's supposed to have the same thing that I did in 2 other places. But I said, I'm going to give it a try. It's the last one. So I went, and all this happened suddenly just to go to this last place. And then, and you have to ask for help for anybody and everybody. And it's incredible when you ask for help, how many people are willing to help you, right? It's amazing.
What do you think keeps us from asking for help more often?
I guess that it's pride. It's the pride. It's the pride to not look like I don't know how to do it. It's basically that, because we make an image of ourselves, of success people, success entrepreneurs, and we are not, and we think that because that we don't have to ask for help or for advice. And, this is why you and me are here in this business, because we know that the tremendous outcome that can have any entrepreneur when they ask for help, for a coaching, for any kind of help, it's a transformation. And sadly, most of us don't allow that. And when you look for many entrepreneurs on success entrepreneurs in the history of humankind, the most successful always ask for help. I read a book recently. It called The $1 Trillion Coach, the Bill Campbell's history of this coach of Silicon Valley, who coached basically most of the top on Silicon Valley, Steve Jobs, all the people in Google, all the people, hundreds of people he coached during his life. And you were, it was not surprised, but he coached Steve Jobs for 30 years every week, just himself. And I guess that Steve Jobs didn't have just him as a coach. Maybe he has many coaches. So, Steve Jobs, how many coaches he may have? I know for sure that this guy did it for 30 years every week. So, and when I look around and I look for friends that are very successful in their business, they never stop to ask help to everybody. It's amazing. I was looking around, who can help me? Who can help me? Who can help me? And they go for it. So I think that's the most important characteristics of the successful entrepreneurs. They always are looking for help, but we think that they are not. The most, why Steve Jobs will be going to ask for advice for anybody. Well, he did for at least this guy for 30 years. So we might learn from that. That is very important to always ask for help, and let go to all this ego and an image that we make from ourselves that we could know everything and so on.
I'm fascinated by this because I'm making a connection. Yesterday evening, I was looking through the data, on the Better Business, Better Life assessment, and we were looking at the questions that seem to be the most predictive of entrepreneurial burnout. And there's one question that says, I doubt my ability to meet the demands coming or in the business.
Of course.
And I thought, and that's very predictive of entrepreneurial burnout. If someone says yes to that, they're likely to have multiple symptoms of burnout. In the context of what you're sharing here, I don't think any of us would walk into a conference or a room of other entrepreneurs and say, I doubt my ability to meet the demands. Help. I think a lot of us are afraid to acknowledge that. It's uncomfortable to acknowledge that. And so I really love the perspective that you're sharing here that maybe we need to shift and we need to just think about that powerful question of who might help me? What help might be out there? And just when we start asking that question, we'll start identifying those opportunities. And I think it's support.
Yeah, and we have read this for centuries, for millennials. Nobody gets great achievement without the help of hundreds of thousands of people. That's the truth. No matter whatever success history you say of anybody in any field, the amount of people that help them in their way is huge. So It's basically nobody gets to to a level of success alone. Of course, you need a lot of help from your team, from the people you work with, but from all the people you can ask for help. So that's basically, and it has to be with one of, I guess, will be for me one of the most important skills, or whatever you want to call it, to develop as any human being, which is to be humble. When you're humble, you are not afraid or ashamed of asking for help of anything. Why? You have limitations like everybody. You know everything. You will not know everything, of course. So it's the most natural thing is to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
It's really like that. But with our ego, we shut down and get, and know what the people may think. And you should ask help for everybody, anybody, all the time. And, it's some of the keys that entrepreneurs have to develop and will help them tremendously in everything.
So with that, I want to challenge our viewers and our listeners to think about where is an area right now in your business where you feel challenged or stretched, and think about who might I ask for help? What resources are around me, and who has those resources? Who has what I need that will help me solve this problem, and where might I go find this help? And start reaching out. One of the things that we've really come to appreciate and enjoy are the connections, like at the Breakthroughs Retreat with our alumni. We have the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back group for those who are on Facebook. It's at tapthepotential.com/group. It's a community where you can come together with other entrepreneurs, and that's a great place to ask for help. And really look around you too with fellow entrepreneurs, ask what they're working on, and look for ways that you might be able to support and help.
And of course, and I'm just not telling this because the business that I am with, but to have a coach, it should be in the future like the most basic thing that any entrepreneur has. And I have this customer that has an incredible success, incredible growth of their companies, that he told me from the day one it was me, an HR person, a finance person, and a coach from the first day that I put my business. And I have not stopped hiring coaches, consultancy, whatever, all the time. And not once, he said, 1, 2, or 3. If I can do it 4, I do it, I invest on that. Because, it's like a no-brainer. Say, people that another point of view, that have other skills that I don't have, that have more experience in things that I don't have, to come and help me. It's like, yeah, of course.
Absolutely. And coaches have coaches. I've had coaches. I have a coach currently.
Me too.
and I'll tell you something else that's really interesting in this data, Rodrigo, is that when we look at entrepreneurs who are burnt out, there's a difference between the entrepreneurs who are experiencing burnout and those who are not. Both sets of entrepreneurs are willing to work up to 10 hours a week to improve their business. 10 hours a week or more to improve their business, both groups. But the ones who are burnt out are not willing to invest monetarily to improve their business. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Of course, you can also have, people that can help you without not paying a friend or colleague. But I have been in this business, in this industry for so long. I have seen these consulting boards that they call. I have seen many models of that. And I have seen the results, very poor results, because it's very simple. There is a people that gather, 7, 6, 5, 7 people. The entrepreneur goes with them every 3 months. It's too far in terms of frequency. Mm-hmm. But the people that are there some of them are CEOs, for instance, of a big company. So the advice that they can give them is sometimes even a bad advice because they don't know the context of an entrepreneur with very, very small resources. So when you pay for something that is specialized in wherever you are in the business, as Steve Jobs with this guy, was a specialist in coaching people of big business, of tech companies, of big business, whatever stage of your company you are, invest in people that have the experience. It's obviously, if you want to improve in anything, let's say it's sports, that is the most direct analogy. If you want to learn to play tennis, where do you go? With your body that, they play tennis to teach you, or you hire a teacher that has been teaching for years people to play tennis to improve your game.
Yes.
So you can ask to your friend to go twice a week to play with you. It's going to help you, in some amount, yes, it's going to help you. But the progress that you're going to do with a teacher that has been teaching for years and is specialized on that, it is not going to compare that. It's basic. It's not brain.
No, in my own coaching, when I'm the client, I'm always reminded I have blind spots. There are things that I overlook. It's always our blind spots where we will work way too hard because of our blind spots. And so when someone who coaches all the time with people in the business at the same kind of level and dealing with the same issues can come in and look on the outside and say, you know what, just adjust this a little bit and that'll make all the difference. And then all these other problems go away. It's amazing. And so I'm always, when someone says, well, it's a lot of time to invest in coaching because, you have these meetings, and what we don't recognize from that frame of mind is the time it's going to save us.
The time and the money. And you can make, to people I know, just observe and take your own conclusion, but observe the people who hired coaches which are special in the business and see the results and see others. You will see it. It's a no-brainer. But even with that, it's still many entrepreneurs that don't want to invest in this kind of thing. And they prefer to invest in things that, don't make any sense. But anyways, we hope that more and more small business owners and entrepreneurs get this notion of it's the best investment they could do from any stage of they are, whatever they can invest, Yeah.
Absolutely. And because it doesn't have to be this hard. It is really the message here is that there are things that you can do. You have people around you who want to help and support, and you can invest with professional coaches to help, make your business better.
Wow, this episode really touched me. I love the reminder that we need to ask for help and we can't do this alone. And no matter how much we plan and we try to get everything lined up, there are always things that come up in business and in life that will surprise us. And as entrepreneurs, we're wonderful problem solvers, but we're even better problem solvers when we ask for help. I'm so appreciative of Rodrigo sharing this message with us. If you have not taken the 4-week vacation pledge, what are you waiting for? Head on over to tapthepotential.com/pledge. When you pledge, you are telling us that you want to make a 4-week vacation happen, and we will reach out to you and offer you resources and support that will enable you to make this a reality in your life. We have seen so many entrepreneurs through successful 4-week vacations here at Tap the Potential. We know what it takes, and we know you can do this with the right support, and we're here for you. So head on over to tapthepotential.com/pledge and make the 4-week vacation a reality in your life. Thank you for spending time with me today. Join me in our Tap the Potential Mighty Networks community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Isn't it time you take your life back? And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.